Hi,
We are
good
live.
morning. Welcome to the Littleton Licensing Authority meeting on today's March 10th, I believe. We'll start with a roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chair Lavier,
Present.
Vice Chair Buchanan,
Here.
Authority Member Amon is absent. Authority Member Follenweider,
Here.
Authority Member Ravindran.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
All right, great. First up for tonight, we have approval of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review? Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Number 3, minutes from our last meeting, which was November 11th, which is probably why we're all a little disoriented at the moment, but certification of the November 11th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Was there any changes to the minutes that anyone noticed? Seeing none. Colin, we're going to do a voice vote on that, or?
I'll need a motion and a second, and then we'll do thumbs up for yes and thumbs down for no. Do I have
Move
a
that we
Move
approve.
to, oh, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I'm
Second,
sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks.
Can you
Okay,
do a second before the motion? Allowed by Robert's Rules of Order.
that's right.
I will allow it.
There
Oh,
you go. Okay, thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no, please. Josie? 4 in favor, the motion carries. Thank you.
All right. Next up on our agenda tonight are the public comments. Citizens wishing to provide public comment prior to the meeting or who wish to participate via phone, please see instructions listed at the top of the agenda.
Okay, so I'm going to go through my little thing here, if that's okay with you, Tim.
That works.
If you wish to address the licensing authority under public comment, please call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter the webinar ID 952-7365-9024. Then press *9 to be recognized as a speaker. Citizen microphones will be automatically muted until the citizen is called upon to speak by the last 3 digits of their phone numbers. When called on to speak, please state your name and district or address clearly for the record. Public comment is an opportunity to express opinions or ask questions regarding issues that are not part of the public hearing on tonight's agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. The city clerk will notify you when you have 30 seconds remaining, and again when your time is up. The licensing authority is not authorized by the Colorado Open Meetings Law to discuss, comment, or take action at this meeting on any issue raised by public comment that is not part of tonight's agenda. We expect comments to be civil. Disrespectful or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Chair, we currently have 1 participant in the queue with their hand raised. Caller with the last 3 phone number digits of 819. You have been unmuted. Please press *6 and begin speaking now.
Hi, my name is Pam Chadbourne. I live in District 1, and I wanted to make some comments about a historical preservation asset that we have in Littleton that I think many people aren't aware of. You all live in Littleton, and so I wanted to talk about the mid-century modern survey that Littleton has performed for Littleton Boulevard. Colorado, the state of Colorado, has a hardworking organization that advocates for historic preservation. It's called Colorado Preservation, Inc. And one activity they perform annually is to put out a list of the 5 most endangered places in Colorado for that year. And in 2014, Colorado Preservation, Inc. put the mid-century resources of Littleton Boulevard on their list of the 5 most endangered places in Colorado for that year. And one of the other 5 were the neon signs of Colfax. And they were kind of recognizing that we have districts, we in the state have whole districts that have remaining assets of historic value that are not protected. And it notes that all of these have increased value because many things remain from an era with historic interest and merit. which have vanished from other places in the state. But unfortunately, it also means that they're endangered. And that means in the case of Littleton, our Littleton Boulevard resources, mid-century resources, they're endangered by lack of protection and potential redevelopment. So that's something that I want all Littletonites to be aware of. Notice that CPI recognized these things in 2014, but it took us 3 years to get a survey done, which is a requirement for advancing historic preservation. In June 2018, the Mid-Century Modern Buildings of Littleton Boulevard survey was released, and it's online. Any of us can go on to the city website and look at it. And they assessed 49 properties, and they researched them and recorded the value of each property in terms of specific historic merit, eligibility for historic protection, their
30 seconds.
condition and historic integrity, and they divided them into 4 tiers. So that's what I wanted to let you know, that Littleton has this gem. We're about second in the state for something like this on Littleton Boulevard. And thanks for letting me share that with you.
Thank you, Pam, for your comments. Colleen, have we gotten anyone else on the line for public
No,
comment?
Chair, we have nobody else in the queue.
Okay. On our agenda next, we do not have any general business noted, so we will go on down to section 6, which is public hearing. And tonight we do have one public hearing. This is Littleton Authority Resolution 01-2021, approving a liquor license application for Murphy Oil USA Incorporated, doing business as Murphy Express number 8922, located at 181 West Littleton Boulevard, Littleton, Colorado. This is a public hearing, so we will hear first from the applicant. There are attachments to this. Colleen, we don't need to move to incorporate the attachments, do we?
No, we don't. They're included as in the agenda as attachments, so they're already part of the record.
Fantastic. Okay. So at this time, we'll start with the applicant and anyone representing the applicant who will take us through the proposal.
Sure. First of all, good evening. My name is Adam Stapen, A-D-A-M-S-T-A-P-E-N. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law here in the great state of Colorado. My registration number is 27506. I'm appearing on behalf of the applicant Murphy Oil. Also with us today is Wayne Sauls. He's the district manager. He'll be speaking and conversing with us about what we intend to do at this location. We also have Tiffany Ferris, and she's the permits and licensing specialist. She's just more attending this hearing than will be speaking. Finally, we have Carol Johnson on behalf of Liquor Pros. Liquor Pros was the entity that circulated the petition and further into the needs and desires analysis that you folks must determine today. And she'll be testifying as to that. I don't know if you'd like to swear in the folks all at once or have them be sworn in when they speak, or do you folks not even swear them in? I can't recall. It's been a while.
We do swear them in, so we could get our non-attorney speakers to hopefully, does everyone have microphones and video cameras?
I don't believe Wayne has a camera, but he does have a microphone.
Colleen, should we do this as a group or individually as they speak?
That's your choice, Chair.
All right, let's just do it as everyone speaks. That way we'll keep it consistent.
Fantastic. So our first witness for your consideration will be Carol Johnson on behalf of Liquor Pros. Ms. Johnson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
You need to be sworn in here. So
Okay.
Yes. Carol, do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is truthful to your knowledge?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, what's your current occupation?
I work with Liquor Pros.
And how long have you been with Liquor Pros?
I've just been with Liquor Pros since May, but I had been previously with Esquire for almost 15 years.
And since we're making a record, what was Esquire petitioning? What did that company do?
We did liquor license petitionings as well.
And so Liquor Pros is a company engaged to circulate petitions in furtherance of alcohol and marijuana applications.
Yes, we are.
Were you retained by the applicant in this matter?
Yes.
Do you folks guarantee results?
No, we do not.
Were you active in participating in the circulation of the petitions for this new fermented malt beverage off-premise license?
Yes, I did the business petitions and I had 2 other employees do the residential petitions.
And can you describe to the authority when you folks circulated the petitions and how you did so, especially in light of the COVID environment in which we are currently residing in?
Yes, we've always tried to be real careful. Initially, when things first started, we actually had letters that we took with us with self-addressed stamped envelopes. However, as things have progressed through the last few months, we haven't had any requests, so we have discontinued that practice. But of course, we always do wear masks. We try to step back once we knock on the door of the residents and the businesses, try to keep the distance if we can. We take the time if they want to go and put a mask on or get their own pen, try to make them as comfortable as we possibly can. And I think most neighborhoods, the last month, 2 months, we've hardly noticed that there's been any difference with it. We still have 1 or 2 people here and there that, just prefer not to open the door, and but it's getting fewer and fewer. But we have been trying to be as careful as we can for both our petitioners and the public.
Great. And so what dates did you folks circulate the petitions and what results did you obtain?
Okay, the businesses were done on Wednesday, the February 17th, and the residents were done on Sunday, February 21st. You want me to just go ahead with the results then?
Please go ahead, Ms. Johnson, please.
Okay, fine. We attempted to contact 70 businesses and 358 residents for 428 attempts, of which we got 96 signatures. 30 signatures from business owners or managers, with all 30 in support of the license. We had 65 total residence signatures, 64 in favor, no, 66, excuse me. Can't read my own writing. 66 support, 65 in favor, and 1 opposed. So we had a total of 95 in favor and 1 opposed. The reason for opposition was they actually did not give a reason. We had 31 people who declined to participate. 21 were not interested, 4 never signed petitions, 3 were against alcohol, and 3 were too busy. Under the not qualified, we had 38 as well. The majority of those, in most cases, as with this time, are the fact that there was just no manager or owner available at the business at the time we did that. So 25 of the 38 were that situation, that there was not an owner or manager available. We had 6 who came to the door that were not 21, 5 who were not residents, and 2 that could not read or speak English. We had pretty good results. Like I said, in the good times before all of this, we figured that on our average overall, we normally would get about 25% of the door knocks to participate. And so this turned out to be right in the ballpark of where we had been before all of this started.
And the results that you obtained, how do they factor in with other fermented malt beverage off-premise license petitions that you circulated in the past? Are these good results, average results, bad results?
No, these are good results, especially with, when you only have 1 and they wouldn't give a reason for why they were in opposition to it. We've been finding more and more people that just aren't opposed to any of the licenses. They're just really wanting businesses to get going and whatever it takes to do that. And so we haven't had an abundance of opposition, probably not more than 4 or 5 in any type of a license that we've done in the last few months. I think
in approximately how many years have you been circulating petitions on behalf of alcohol license applications?
Just hit 15 years in May this year.
And based on those 15 years, do you have an opinion as to whether these results are indicative of the needs and desires of the neighborhood?
Yes, I definitely think there are. There were really, among the businesses, there was, no negative comments, even whether they signed or not signed. And I didn't have any feedback. We have data sheets that go along with our petition. And my team is really good about putting comments down if there were anything, because occasionally people just choose not to sign, but they'll make a comment of some sort. But there wasn't really nothing negative in the approach to this at all.
Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions of Ms. Johnson. Maybe the authority has some questions.
Certainly.
Carol?
Yes.
Just a question. I noticed on the business petition, there were none of the 3 retail establishments in the general vicinity of where you're anticipating. So Pyramid Liquors, Liquor Mart, nor did King Soopers did you ask them and they said
We-
declined to sign, or I was just,
2 of the 3 had no owner or manager there, and King Soopers very rarely, really only find someone that is available there on very, very rare instances. Some of the stores just say it's a policy not to sign.
not to sign petitions?
Yeah.
Just
No,
curious
no, we
about
go
when
right
you-
straight up and down the street, but like you say,
Right.
in this particular case, there were, what did I say, 25 businesses that didn't have an owner or manager there.
Got it.
So we aren't, we just,
You
on
just
the
go down the
businesses-
doors. So
Yeah,
you
the
did go in and they didn't have somebody to sign.
yeah, sometimes it's that, or occasionally with the liquor stores, there'll be a truck delivery or something of that sort that they are out back not wanting to take the time to do that, or they're with a distributor or something of that sort. But in most cases, for a fermented malt, they liquor license, a good portion of the liquor stores will still support them if there is someone available.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the authority for Carol Johnson? Okay, seeing none. Adam, you are welcome to proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. I'd ask that Ms. Johnson be excused from the hearing tonight.
Thank you, Carol. You are excused.
Thank you. It's good seeing everybody again after a long time.
Take care,
Thanks,
Carol.
You too.
Our next witness will be Wayne Sauls, please. Wayne, can you hear me?
And can you hear me?
I sure can hear you. You're going to be sworn in here. Obviously, we can't see you.
And I do apologize for the technical issues.
Oh, no
We're
worries.
going to take you on your word that you're going to raise your right hand, my friend.
Wayne, do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is truthful to the extent of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sauls, what's your current occupation?
I work for Murphy USA. I'm a district manager here in Northern Colorado.
What does one do as a district manager?
We maintain and oversee store operations on a day-to-day basis to ensure that we're following all policies and procedures which are set aside by Murphy USA.
Does that also include the sale and storage of alcohol?
It does, yes, sir.
What exactly is a Murphy USA? I'll leave it at that. What exactly is a Murphy USA?
It is a convenience store / gas station.
How many locations do we have in Colorado?
Currently, we're 25.
And do we have plans for expansion?
We do, yes, sir.
And is it be a pretty broad expansion, is it not?
Probably in the next 2 to 3 years, probably well over 50 locations.
What about outside of Colorado? How many locations do you folks have?
A little over 1,500.
Okay. Focusing on Colorado, how many of those locations in Colorado have a beer license, if you would?
Well, I think all but 2.
And is there a reason why we try to license most, if not all, of our stores?
The reason for that is my understanding is they're either too close, most of them are too close to a school, and they don't allow us to sell alcohol in that particular location.
Okay, so it's something that you want to have a beer license in every one of your locations.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Why is that, Mr. Sauls?
We want to make sure we're giving to the community what they are looking for. And in most cases, alcohol sales is something that most communities are actually looking for.
And is that because, what other products do you sell in your convenience store?
We sell food products, we sell fresh food, we sell packaged food, we sell beverages, cigarettes, or any tobacco products. That's pretty much the scope of our what we do at the store, as well as gas.
And so this is to have the beer license and have the beer available at your store here in Littleton Boulevard. That'd be more of a convenience for your consumers to purchase beer while they stop and get the gas, or purchase some convenient items as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the location that we're looking to license here at 181 West Littleton Boulevard?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe what kind of drew Murphy Oil to choose this location?
Well, again, those are usually based off of demographics and the area. They feel like the business, it's a good business model for that particular location. They feel like it's something great for the community in a specific location, and they kind of go after these locations in the I guess the way they look at it is again, businesses always comes first. We understand that, but they're trying to look at how they can serve the communities. And that's the reason they go after these particular locations.
And would high vehicular traffic have an impact on choosing a location?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, what's the vehicular traffic around Littleton Boulevard and Broadway?
I'm going to be honest with you. I can't really speak to that. So I don't
But
want to say the wrong thing.
Are those highly traveled vehicular roads?
They are. Yes, sir. As far as count or anything like that, I don't have that information.
Okay. And if this license is granted, where exactly would the beer be kept and stored in the location?
It will be in the back portion of the store in what we call a beer cave. It's a walk-in cooler, and that's where those items will be located.
And is there a reason why we put it in the back of the convenience store?
Yes, we want to make sure we're safe and secure. We want to make sure that we are able to monitor and keep an eye on who's purchasing or who's coming out with the alcohol.
What hours of operation do you anticipate this location to have?
This particular location will start off as a 24-hour store, and they typically do that for approximately 3 months until they can determine whether the sales justify being open that length of time.
Okay, and you understand that you're only allowed to sell beer between the hours of 8 a.m. and midnight?
Yes, sir, and we have a lock on those doors.
So the cave, the beer cave would be locked
Yes, sir.
during the hours outside of those permitted hours?
Yes, sir.
What about the point of sale system? Is there any mechanism in the point of sale system as well to ensure you don't sell a product that you're not authorized to sell?
Yes, sir. We have to look at everybody's ID because we don't have the ability to override those purchases. So it's going to automatically tell us to ask for an ID, and then we have to get the ID from the customer.
And the hours of which you're not allowed to sell, would the point of sale system allow the sale to occur?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about alcohol, in specific, the training that you have. You mentioned most of the stores here in Colorado have alcohol licenses. Have you had any violations at those locations?
We have.
And can you briefly describe how many you may have had and what they relate to?
I believe in the last probably 2 to 3 years, we've had 3 incidents at the Broomfield location on Highway 7, store 8747.
And so it's been isolated to a singular location.
Yes, sir.
And as a result of having those instances, what did you folks do to try to change the tide?
Repeat that again, Adam.
Now, after having those violations at the Broomfield location, what did you do to make sure that that won't happen again?
Well, not that our training's not fair, our training's pretty stringent, but at the end of the day, well, we've unfortunately we've lost a couple managers, and we've also lost some associates. We terminated those associates based on that sale of that alcohol. And moving forward, we ensure that the training is completed. We also ensure through video surveillance, we look at video, we check to make sure we're following the alcohol program, which we are, and we just kind of monitor it on a day-to-day basis.
And in fact, it was that so important for you folks that your general counsel flew out from Arkansas and joined us at that hearing, did she not?
Yes, sir, she did.
And you have another location in Broomfield and have not had a single violation at that location?
Yes, sir, the store on 7491 on 120th.
Great. Why don't you tell these good folks about the alcohol training that we require your employees to have? Kind of walk us through the training and walk us through that, if you would.
Well, every associate that starts with us, no matter who it is, manager, district manager, whoever it may be, all have to go through a video alcohol training on on our Murphy system, and you cannot even log onto a register until that training has been completed and you've passed that training and you understand that training, and you have to sign off as an acknowledgement that you understand that training.
Is that a one-time training, or do we have ongoing refreshing courses for these folks?
We have ongoing refresher training.
And how often does that occur?
It's typically once a year.
Okay. And once they pass that, do we have a point of sale system? I think you described a little bit that would also help our sales associates understand what they're required to do.
Yes, sir. That prompt is always going to be there on the register to ask for an ID.
And what is your policy if someone shows up wanting to purchase beer? Do you ask for everyone's ID or just a handful of them?
Oh, no, we ask all for ID.
And if I provide my identification, what is the clerk supposed to do?
First off, you want to validate the license or validate the ID to ensure that it's that person. And you want to look at the expiration date on the license, and you can either input the license or you can scan the license.
One of the two has to happen. They either have to scan it or they can input the birth date.
Yes, sir.
And you testified earlier that you have cameras to ensure that people are putting in the proper birth date, not just their own birth date.
We do. Yes, sir.
And how often do you folks take a look at those cameras and or the computer itself to ensure that people are not putting in their own birth date, but rather inserting the birth date that's shown on the identification card?
I mean, personally, I look at it 2 to 3 times a week. So I want to ensure that we're following the policies and make sure we're, doing the proper thing for the sale of restricted products.
And are you familiar with a vertical identification versus a horizontal identification here in the state of Colorado?
Yes, sir.
What is the difference?
One is you're under 21. The other is over 21 years of age.
And what's your policy on accepting the one that indicates you're under 21?
Well, we certainly wouldn't be able to sell any type of restricted product to that individual.
And you testified earlier, but you guys have a zero tolerance for violations of the alcohol laws?
Yes, sir.
And does that also go up the chain, meaning does the manager, district manager, and do you folks also kind of feel the pain as well if someone violates the liquor laws?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir.
And can you describe briefly, without getting into the, the trade secrets or anything else, but how does that affect you guys upstream?
You mean from a disciplinary point of view?
Disciplinary or bonus or anything like that?
Well, it certainly affects us from a disciplinary point of view. Anybody who sells or who bypasses, I guess you could say, and sells alcohol to anyone underage, and we again terminate the employee immediately, no matter who it is, whether it's the district manager, the manager, or a sales associate in that location. And then it kind of creates a ripple effect all the way up even to my level from a disciplinary point of view if someone sells any type of restricted product without the proper process.
Okay. And if this license is granted, when do you folks anticipate opening up this Murphy Express?
Well, the date has been moved 3 or 4 times. I want to say now we're sitting somewhere around the first week of April.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to advise the authority about Murphy Express and yourself?
I do not, sir. I do not.
Okay. I don't have any further questions of Mr. Sauls. If you guys have any questions, feel free.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I'm looking at the layout for the facility, Mr. Salas. And,
yes, sir.
On one side, I see where the beer cave is listed. I see sales right in the middle, and I see maybe counters or seats on the bottom of this diagram in the packet. Is the sales happening in the center of the store? Is this like a sales island?
No, sir. What you're probably seeing on the island, it would be our food service area where we keep our fresh food, coffee, fountain drinks. That's probably what you're seeing in the center portion of the store. Typically, the register area, depending on whether the store is flipped or not, it's going to be either on the left side of the building or the right side of the building.
So directly
opposite of the beer cave.
And do you feel that you have good visibility? Are you planning to stock product in the middle of the store? I know sometimes there's candy aisles and other goods sold in the convenience store. So having your registers across the store from where the beer and other drinks are sold. Do you find that's an issue with visibility?
No, sir, because of the way they typically lay out the stores, they'll lay the aisles long ways across the store, which creates higher visibility from the register area. And it's really, really open on that side, even though the beer cave is on the other side of the store, that the view is very open from the register area to the other side of the location based on the way they lay out the gondolas. And they're usually low profile, or they are low profile, not usually. They are low profile gondolas, which creates more of a vision or a view across the store.
And one other thing I'm noticing with this diagram is that the entrance door is near those drinks and that cooler. The register is further away or deeper into the store, not near where the doors are. Is that layout consistent with your understanding?
Yes, sir. And again, those aisles or those gondolas are typically out. So when you walk into the entrance, you're going to smack right into or run, sorry, probably wrong terminology, run right into the gondola. So it creates that blockage, but it also gives you a view of sight.
Have you had issues in the past with people grabbing product and just heading out the door without going by the register, given this layout?
Not necessarily in this layout, but I will say, unfortunately, in the retail world, that opportunity is always going to exist. It's just something that's really hard to completely get rid of. There's always going to be those types of individuals that come in with wrong intent, and they're going to do things they're not supposed to do.
Yeah, I raise the issue because nearby, and not probably outside of the distance requirements, we have our Littleton High School, which is very nearby. And I know those students come down to Chipotle, which is right next door, I think, to where this proposed location is. And I wonder if that's an issue, given the proximity and how the store is laid out. Do you have
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
How many people do you have working or staffing a store in a day during the daytime hours?
Again, that can vary based on sales. However, I would say in most of these locations this size, and this is a newer format for us as Murphy, this size location, you're probably going to have anywhere from 3 to 4 individuals that work in that location during probably the large portion of the day.
With probably 2 overlapping at any given time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are there other questions from the authority for Mr. Sauls?
So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Broomfield situation, so I understand it. I was noticing in the list on your application, you had a list of violations, and I only saw 2 for Broomfield, but the list only went through 2019. Was one of those in 2020, the last year, or you said 3 violations?
I thought there was 3. And maybe I'm
Okay.
incorrect. Maybe Adam can speak more to that, but I was thinking there was 3. I've only been here for 2.5 years myself in the state of Colorado.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I don't believe there was a violation in 2020. I believe it happened prior to 2020.
No, there's not one in 2020. That's for sure.
Yeah, the list was all states, so I'm sure that with 1,500 locations, you probably had some violations in 2020. It looks like every year, but I was curious about Broomfield. So I guess my question was, during those 2 violations, you said you're having no tolerance. So in each case, you fired individuals who had had violated the liquor laws. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I mean, I don't know if this is the right question, but I was curious about the reaction of Broomfield, because you're in the city and county of Broomfield. And Adam, you may say I can't ask about that, but
No, it's okay.
How did Broomfield react? Was there did you lose your liquor license for a while? Did you have a fine? I was just curious about the response.
Wayne, do you recall? If not, I can address that.
I believe, and again, I'm old, so memory's not always great. To my knowledge, we did on the last occurrence, I believe we lost the license for 10 days. And,
So-
Broomfield took it pretty serious, as Adam
Sure.
can attest.
Yeah, and I can tell you, so I represent these folks there, and it was an oddity. And the problem is that they have another location in Broomfield that did not have a single violation.
Right.
And the employees went back and forth. And for whatever reason, we had one bad thing after another at the location in question. And I can tell you, as an officer of the court, even the authority was perplexed. They're like, we don't understand what's happening here. This is not a pattern and practice of what you guys are doing in Broomfield at the other location or any other location in Colorado. And it was one of these that we really racked our brain. Internal counsel came out from Arkansas to address the board. We came up with new policies and procedures. We did everything. We just racked our brain. And they did, I believe they suspended the license for about 10 days. But it was one of those perplexed circumstances where it just didn't make sense. While the other store didn't have any violations, the same employees went back and forth, and this store did. It just didn't make any sense.
But in this case, that you did fire the immediate individuals involved, and what exactly happened to the manager? You mentioned they felt the pain, but I guess I'd like to understand the corporate sort of response.
Well, typically when we have an issue like this, of course, we terminate the associate or whoever sold that product without proper identification. We typically take the manager and we put them on some form of counseling or disciplinary action for that incident, so they understand the severity of ensuring everybody is properly notified on the proper sale of any type of age restricted product.
Right.
And that even, again, I think I said it earlier, that even spills up to the district manager level as well. So we definitely addressed that situation. But if I remember right too, we were also going through a transition with leadership in that location at that time. And we did have a new manager who had only been there for a very short period of time during that situation.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not interested in getting involved in personnel. These are very specific things, but I was curious about the actual mechanism itself. So thank you for that.
No problem, sir.
And I'm sorry, I'm not seeing any detail in the report here, but were these violations in Broomfield, were these compliance checks or were these naturally occurring violations?
They were compliance checks.
Anything from Jyoti or Michael for Mr. Sauls? Nothing from Jyoti.
Just a quick question, Mr. Sauls. Just roughly, what percentage of your sales will the alcohol provide for this store? What's your anticipation of that?
The estimation somewhere probably around 10%, 8 to 10%, somewhere in that range.
Thank you.
That's outside of fuel sales. That's just inside store sales.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Sauls, do you guys keep good contact with your neighbors? And the reason I'm asking is with our high school nearby, I know usually businesses will keep school administrators or others on record so that they can make contact and discuss any issues that they have with students coming by. And I know generally schools put together a code of conduct for their students. Have you been involved in the community in that capacity before?
I have, but not in that particular community. No, sir.
All right. Anything else for Mr. Sauls? All right. Thank you, Mr. Sauls. Mr. Saban, you may continue.
Well, that kind of concludes our presentation for you folks tonight. I mean, obviously, I think the petition results speak directly to the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood and the desires of adult inhabitants in support of the issuance of this new FMB off-premise license. Mr. Sauls did speak as to the training that we provide, other licensed locations in Colorado and so forth. And while I do understand the concern with Broomfield, and I do understand the concern with Littleton High School, I do believe these folks are very well-versed and qualified operators. And I just thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Staven. All right. At this time, I think, Colleen, we're going to the to open the public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, at 7:17 p.m. So I'll just do my little thing here. Citizens wishing to speak during the public hearing for Littleton Licensing Authority Resolution 01-2021, please call 669-900-6833. When prompted, enter the webinar ID 952-7365-9024. Once on the line, press *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak, and the clerk will notify you when you have 30 seconds remaining, and again, when your time is up. Chair, we currently have one caller in the queue with their hand raised. Caller with the last 3 phone number digits of 819. You have been unmuted. Please press *6 and begin speaking now.
You are on mute still. Hold on one second, Pam. You are still, there you go.
Okay. Oh, thank you. So I'm Pam Chadbourne. I grew up on Littleton Boulevard, a couple of blocks away from this, and I went to Littleton High School. If for nothing else, I mean, when I went to Littleton, I wasn't aware of how the city took care of us, but this never would have been allowed. So I don't think you should allow this in this location for that reason alone. I was also appalled by the list of violations. But what I'm going to ask you for is something that might be outside of your authority, but this is not the best and highest use of the land in Littleton. And I am going to talk to you about that. As you may know, Littleton has a mid-century modern survey of the resources on Littleton Boulevard. There's 49 of them, and we had those surveyed in 2018. So 181 West Littleton Boulevard was assessed as having historic merit and within the mid-century modern theme between Broadway and Santa Fe. It was characterized by architecture and design that accommodated access by car, which was new after World War II. It was called the Motor Bank Building, and it meets criteria for designation under national, state, and Littleton definitions, meets 4 of 6 key Littleton criteria. It only takes 1 to be designated. The building has a residential feel. Red brick, horizontal lines of a sloped overhanging roof, and had a covered porch and trees and a little bit of lawn around it. So it provided a welcome natural environment and open space. And the position at the east end of Littleton Boulevard is important because as you come off of Broadway, it changes the character of that whole mile right away. This building is definitional to that. So in my opinion, the proposed gas station, Liquor Mart, has no potential for any such merit or value to the city. There's already a gas station right across the street, and there's several liquor stores within a quarter mile. We do not need this store here. I'm also going to say, and I realize it's state law in the way that that's written, but it's out of date. It's not, it needs modernization. Petitions mean nothing in terms of benefit to Littleton. I heard of a recent study in which people went to doorways and actually asked people to damage a library book so that the petitioner could meet some group goal. And almost all of the people still signed the petition. People will sign a petition when someone's in front of them, apparently just to kind of help that person out.
30 seconds.
Petitions mean nothing in terms of the value of this to the city. Now, Murphy Oil in USA is headquarters in Arkansas. You've already heard there's 1,650 stations, mostly in Southwest, Southeast, Midwest, and Northeast US. This is not a local asset. It's not a local business that we're helping. So I want you to deny this application. I understand it might not be possible, but
Time is up.
our process is out of date. So please deny it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Pam.
And Chair, if I may jump in really quickly just to clarify something on that with your permission.
Yes, Ashley, please proceed.
Thank you. Pam obviously brought up the fact that she wasn't sure if it was in this authority's realm really to get into the use of the actual property. And she's correct to question that. That is not within the realm of this authority. You guys are just basing decisions on whether the requirements have been met to issue the license itself. And so I just want to clarify that record because she did mention she wasn't sure if you had that authority or not. Thank you.
Yes, I'm aware. And I think most of the authority members have been on for a while, and we've gone through a few training sessions on what we are basing our decisions on. Colleen, is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Chair, at this time, no, there's nobody else in the queue.
Okay. Seeing no additional speakers from the public, I will close the public hearing now at 7:22. At this time, before we do discussion, I believe need to entertain a motion. And then once we have a motion on the table, we will have discussion. It's only, all right, I'll do it. We'll start with this one. We'll see where we go. I move that the resolution of Littleton Licensing Authority be approved, which grants Murphy Oil USA Inc. doing business as Murphy Express 8922-181 West Littleton Boulevard, Littleton, Colorado, a fermented malt beverage off-premise liquor license contingent upon approval by the Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division and based upon the following findings of fact. 1, that notice of the hearing was properly posted and published. 2, that the applicant has possession of the premises and that the premises are suitable for the requested license. 3, that the needs of the neighborhood are not now being met. 4, that it is the desire of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood that the license be issued. 5, that existing similar liquor licenses in the designated neighborhood are not adequate. And 6, that the applicant is of good moral character, record, and reputation.
Do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
All right, we have a motion on the table to approve the license. We have a chance here for a discussion. And first I wanted to ask Colleen or anyone else with knowledge, have we done, I assume as part of all applications, we do the GIS mapping and ensure proper distances.
Yeah.
And in this case, this is outside the school zone buffer and any other parks nearby.
Correct. It would not have gotten to you if it did not meet those requirements.
Okay. And then one other aspect, I know there's a 1,500-foot buffer between liquor stores, but there's no buffer from a fermented malt beverage application and an existing liquor store. It's like a one-way street, is that correct?
Ish.
Ish, yeah.
There's a 1,500 foot and a 500 foot. But this meets the buffer for both the liquor store across the street and the FMB license at King Soopers.
So it's 500 between the King Soopers FMB license.
FMB, and then 1,500 to the liquor store.
And King Soopers does not sell beer, FMB, in their gas station on the corner,
No.
correct?
No, the only King Soopers fuel station that sells is for their store on Broadway, and that fuel station is, I believe, at 8080 South Broadway, closer down to County Line. So at that fuel station there at Littleton Boulevard and Broadway, they do not sell it in the fuel station because they have it in the store.
Okay. So we have proper distance. I'm looking at the lease agreement they have, so they have proper right to the facility. I recognize their history of a couple of violations in Broomfield, and knowing that they are a larger organization, I know that there's likely other things in other states. Did anyone have any concerns or questions to discuss on moral character grounds? Any other discussion from the authority?
So I guess I want to sort of address Pam's comments about a petition. And I recognize that sometimes petitions feel like maybe they're not the best way to identify preferences, but I think that's our best mechanism right now. I did ask Carol about some comments or some businesses that I would have liked to have seen on the business side of the petition, but I also want to recognize that the petition, with regard to the residents in the area, have all voted, that they felt like this was something they supported with only one dissent. So I'm not sure there's any better way for us to judge the interests of the neighborhood than this mechanism that is certainly not perfect, but it is something that gives us preference. So I guess that would be my response. And I probably, because of that, I think voting on this motion is something I will likely do. So that's my comments there.
And if I could, to be clear, state statute just says that they need to prove the needs and desires of the adult inhabitants. It does not state how they prove that. So if somebody can come up with something better than a petition, we would certainly entertain that. If they want to fill our gallery with 300 people like we did when we heard the license application for the Safeway drugstore, that's always a possibility as well. But in order for them to even bring this forward to us, they have to meet that statutory requirement of needs and desires. And this is the mechanism that they have to do that.
Yeah, understood, Colleen.
All right. Any other discussion before we vote? Colleen, will you please poll the authority?
Actually, we're going to do thumbs up for yes and a thumbs down for no. Or do you want to do a roll call?
Either way for me, I'll let you.
Thumbs up for a yes, thumbs down for a no. The vote is 4 in favor. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saban. Have a good rest of your evening. You are excused.
You folks too. Thank you. It's good to see everybody.
Thank y'all for your time. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Moving on to back to our agenda. That is the only public hearing we had this evening for a new license. Next is section 7, which is reports, and we'll start with staff. And I think Colleen, you might have something for us in terms of.
Just want to talk a little bit, and Ashley may pop in, I'm not sure. Just wanted to let the authority know that we did, council did conduct an incredible number of boards and commissions interviews this year, 4 full nights. And that next month when we meet, Jyoti will move up to a full voting member of the board. We're very excited about that. And we do have 2 new alternates that will be coming in. They have not been officially confirmed. That will happen on the 16th by motion with the council. We will meet in April. We will have a new license. We will also elect officers, and then there will be some training for the board from this office as well as the attorney's office. Council has started meeting in council chamber, kind of doing a hybrid where council is in the chamber as well as the city manager and the city attorney. Everybody else is still remote. We'll continue that for a little bit, see how it goes, and then we'll work on transitioning our boards back into the new chamber, which is gorgeous, by the way. It's very high tech and fancy. So that's where we are in the clerk's office. Also, just another heads up is I am back to being a single person office temporarily. That face, yeah, Tim. So we're actually doing another recruitment for a deputy and hope to have that filled soon.
I am sorry you don't have the help you need at the moment, but you are very proficient and good at your job. So we do appreciate all your efforts.
Happy to do what I can. Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to add about training?
Just to give you guys a general sense of what we're planning to do. I know last year we didn't have board trainings with the timing of COVID and all of that. So really want to get back to that. I think what Reed, the city attorney, and my plan is to kind of update our boards and commissions handbook that has not been updated since I think 2013. And kind of push that out to all of the boards generally with probably some sort of memo ahead of time, just advising of all the things that apply across all of our boards. And then I'm working to put together a specific training for licensing authority, and we'll have our prosecutor also present a piece just as far as, you know, the mechanics of what you guys do, and kind of just a good refresher for you all, and then getting everyone else that's new up to speed. And so if there's anything you guys think of that you want to make sure that I cover in that, or want to make sure is clarified somehow, please feel free to reach out to me ahead of time and I'll incorporate what I can, but also obviously open to questions whenever you have them.
Yeah.
That's our plan. It'll be a busy night, so make sure you're there.
Yeah, one thing I always like to cover in those is just general discussion of authorities' powers in terms of sanctions, stipulations, modifying them, negotiating them, anything along those lines.
Will do. Thank you, guys. That's all from me.
Well, we might want to address the preemptive second that I had this evening. Is that allowed by rules?
I'm going to advise you go ahead and do the first and then second it.
But since I think you both did a first and a second, we're good.
Any updates from the authority? Authority members, of anyone going to be missing sessions or dropping like a fly and moving out of city limits? No? Good. All right.
You're late next time. We're going to do a coup and overtake your leadership position.
Yeah. My
Like a
second
Greek.
mind gap in 8 years.
I know.
Sorry about that. I do apologize. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. At this time, I think we are adjourned. Bye.
Everyone, see you next month.